The 28-man squad for this summer's Club World Cup has officially been announced today, but you might be surprised by some of the omissions from the squad. But that's only that, my friends. We have some big updates surrounding efforts for HATO, James Trafford, plus a ton more. So I hope you guys enjoy. Hit that like button. Let's try and get 2K likes for the news video today, and I hope you guys enjoy it. We start with things, my friends, and the 28-man squad for this Club World Cup this summer has been officially announced. You guys have seen it on screen. I'm using the club's official website so we can go through who has been selected. And you know what? Some of these guys won't surprise you. Robert Sanchez, of course, remains. Cucurella's, Tosens, Badias, but there are some new names. Liam Delap, Asugo, our new signing. Mamadou Sarr, players to watch out for. Mike Penders, interesting. Gabriel Slonina being another interesting one. And hopefully you might see more minutes given to players like your Nkunku's. Now there's another striker now. It means that Nkunku doesn't have to play up front anymore. Mark Gu returns back as well. And obviously Andre Santos will have a lot of attention on his name, as he tends to have every preseason and every summer period. But my friends, there have been some big omissions from the squad. They haven't really surprised any of us, to be fair with you. One of the big ones, obviously, is George Petrovic. Now, we've learned from French journalists that at the moment, we are apparently pushing Petrovic to stay at Strasbourg for another season. However, he's setting his sights a bit higher. He has tons of interest from your Bayer Leverkusens, your Monacos, plus a host of other clubs out there right now. So I'm just not too sure about him wanting to go back to Strasbourg. And I think his omission essentially means that he will be sold. And I see it like this. Out of all the keepers we have in Jorgensen, Robert Sanchez, their market is not as big right now, but the market for Petrovic is. We bought him for like 12 million euros. That's barely anything. And we could double that profit on him. He can return us a massive profit back in return. I said that so poorly, then apologies, you guys. But this is why he is the favorite to go, because that is guaranteed money you're bringing in that can be used elsewhere. Another surprise omission is Kendry Paez. Now, I think all of us were of that belief that he might stay with the squad, get assessed by Maresca. We have a watchful eye over him. But it does seem like he's going to stay at Strasbourg on loan. So he's taking part in their preseason earlier. Now, I think that probably makes a bit more sense for him to really settle in at Strasbourg even more. A very exciting season ahead for Paez. European football on offer for him for next season. And he's going to the French division, one of the most physical leagues in Europe, one of the best finishing schools for young products. And he's working under Liam Rosenior. So if he performs, he is setting his future up very nicely. But obviously, it's a little bit of a shame that we aren't going to see him. But I guess we have to be that much patient to watch him play for us. And naturally, the big names, Joao Felix, Raheem Sterling, and Gabriel Axel Disasi, they won't be taking part in the Club World Cup. Now, let's hope that Benfica are able to strike a deal for Felix at some point. They can't register him now for the start of the tournament. However, they could strike a deal in time for the knockout stages if they get there in the competition. Raheem Sterling, God knows what his future's saying. I don't know who's going to sign him. There's a lot of players that we have under our books that their future's looking quite iffy. You're not that confident on where they're set to go. And I hope that it won't just like distract us from going for the main targets and moves that we need to make. That is the key thing right here. But my friends, I think in terms of what we're seeing, in terms of the squads, I think it's the best we have at the moment. It's a shame that we couldn't add maybe more reinforcements, but Asugo, Sarr, and Liam Delap being the big one will be a key one. I'm going to release a video later talking about 5 players you need to keep an eye out for this summer's Club World Cup. Make sure you guys don't miss out on that one. It's going to be a big one. I hope you guys definitely enjoy that one. But in the meantime, that is everything Club World Cup news. And now let's move on to some of the other big stories doing the rounds today. And I think for the next story, let's turn our attention to Fabrizio Romano's latest transfer story surrounding us. And my friends, we're learning that at the moment, courtesy of Romano, us and Arsenal have begun conversations over the availability of HATO. This is one to keep an eye out for. This is a story to pay attention to because, as we've known for a while, HATO was under Housen. These are the exceptional young talents the club would make a move for because they're great opportunities on the market. Yo, apologies for that, you guys. The fire jack's going off right now. It's absolutely crazy. But I have to leave the door open. It's really stuffy in the office. I need some fresh air, man. But as I was saying, HATO was one of the key guys we turned towards because he does fill two positions. He can play as a centre-back, and he provides that competition for Cucurella. Now, this season at Ajax, he's predominantly played as a fullback most of the time, even though he's one of those adventurous, marauding style defenders. Now, I kind of see him in that same mode as a Joško Gvardiol, in the sense that I think that entire left zone is his. He makes sense of that. And I think he is a better long-term alternative to that inverted option over someone like Renato Vega. Like, I never really quite understood the Vega thing. I've said this at the beginning. I'm still saying this. It doesn't really make too much sense because he lacks that mobility. That mobility that you need. If he's going to be playing box to box, if he has to go on recovery runs to come back, to get back in position ASAP, yeah, you know, that type of ability under pressure too. Like, if he's not playing as you're holding DM or in the middle of a back three, I don't see the point of him. Let's see what happens with his future. We want big money for a sale this summer. And obviously, he's not taking part in the Club World Cup. But Romano is giving us a lot to work with at the moment. And from slight rumours I was hearing, HATO is definitely interested in making the move to us. We do have Champions League football. And he might think to himself, compared to going to Arsenal where there's Calafiori, Skelly, Gabriel, Saliba, Timbers, White, that is a very difficult defensive unit to confidently tell yourself you're going to get a ton of minutes in. I think that's looking quite unlikely. And I think for us, we probably have an advantage in this area because at least we can offer him more consistent minutes in that sense, more possibilities for game time. These are the slight advantages we have working in our favor. So I'm curious to see what happens with this because, come on, man, it does get a bit boring covering these stories, and there's still no like the concrete targets that are like, you know what, we're signing you. We don't care about the extra 2, 4, 5 million. You're that important for our ambitions this season, for the manager, yeah, for the squad, that you need to come here right now because we're putting the football here and the business comes underneath that. I respect you need to find a balance at times, but I just think at times it's kind of crazy how the business can get prioritized a bit too much, especially when you see inconsistencies surrounding times when it doesn't matter and times when it does. So I'm not too sure about this one. Obviously, HATO interest has big question marks on the future of Ishe Samuel Smith, but should we be surprised by that? I mean, come on. When we're giving most of our Cobham grads long-term deals, it's not so they can break into the first team most times, to retain their value. I can't see how that helps. We heard that Ishe Samuel Smith obviously was supposed to be part of the squad. That was supposed to be the big thing here. And I don't even think he's going to the Club World Cup, which really sums up the fact that he probably has to get a loan move this summer. And we're probably finding a better alternative to a Marc Cucurella. Listen, I think we need to get one, regardless of how I feel, yeah, because I can't go into a Champions League season with only one fit and available player, playing as a left back. That's not good. We need two options down either side. I don't think Reece James, I don't think Gusto or Achimpunga, none of these guys are the type of players I need as competition for Cucurella. We need that left foot. And I do think HATO makes a bit of sense. And I'm not really opposed to this move based on the needs of, that inverted style left back. Shame he never kept Lewis Hall. He would have been a great player to have if he had the foresight to just keep him here at the club. But we've used him for pure profit. And most of these times we're doing the pure profit stuff. It's not as if it's even necessarily leading towards signing that game-changing, needle-mover type of player that takes you to the next level. So, I don't know, man. How do you guys feel about the latest reports around HATO? Do you like the look of him on screen? Share your thoughts and opinions. Let us know how you're feeling on this story right now. But in the meantime, my friends, I think it's time that we discuss the latest reports surrounding James Trafford. At the moment, my friends, bear with me, but there are some very interesting developments surrounding James Trafford. But to really discuss them, we have to talk about what is happening at the moment with Newcastle, because Newcastle are currently the favourites for him. Yeah, Newcastle were the favourites for his signature at this point in time. I'm going to take you guys to the reports coming out now. Let's turn towards the Mail at the moment. Gives us some good context and insight behind what is going on. And right now, Newcastle are in the lead, holding talks with Burnley over James Trafford. Now, I'm not too sure about this 40 mil valuation that's placed on his head, so I'm going to use the Telegraph's article instead. I think that provides a little bit more context, to be fair with you. And essentially, Newcastle believe that Burnley are stalling over these talks for Newcastle to sign Trafford because they are getting wind of our interest in James Trafford. Now, if you guys remember what I was saying yesterday over the failed attempts for Mike Maignan, I did say at the club, we're also looking at James Trafford as that potential alternative and potential backup. This is now being confirmed. So, you know what? It's a shame that some of the stuff I was saying didn't come to fruition, but you can't predict the future. Who would have guessed that the club would have taken back their offer with AC Milan and lowball them in the final hours? You can't guess these things, but hopefully you guys understand the context and gist of reporting on context and insights and behind scoops type of stories in the market, right? But at the moment, Burnley value him at around 30 mil, which is too much for Newcastle. But Burnley believe that with extra competition, that could potentially increase the value of James Trafford. So that is one to definitely keep an eye out for. It does continue this trend we're seeing, this Man City-fication trend at Chelsea Football Club, where you're constantly just seeing Man City grads making moves here and becoming our players. It's interesting. I'm not too sure how I necessarily feel about it completely at times. Bear with me, my friends. But if I'm being objective, I can understand and see that Trafford is by far the best goalkeeper in the championship. I mean, his clean sheet record is absolutely ridiculous. I think he got over 29 clean sheets in the championship. He's prevented like 11 goals from being scored. By far, the best, prevented goals record in the championship. The guy is 6'6". He's come from Man City's. Even though we criticize it, they do have a world-class academy. And he's a goalkeeper that is pretty complete, I have to say. Not only is he very strong aerially, very good with his high claims. The guy is an excellent penalty stopper. He's very good with his distribution, and he's very comfortable playing as that sweeper keeper and playing outside the box. I mean, there's a lot of things he does very good in this game. And Newcastle actually failed an attempt to sign Trafford last year in 2024. He is one of the highly acclaimed keepers in the country. Thomas Tuchel has called him up to the England national team squad because he probably will be the number one keeper for England at some point. He hasn't got his international debut caps just yet, but he is like the country's big hope in the goalkeeper position. So let's watch this space. My thing is, though, is that if you make a move for Trafford, the club could argue, well, he's younger, England international, lots of years left on his deal. He makes more sense to overspend on. Cool, I guess. But equally at the same time, and you know that Maignan had like a year left on his deal. Maresca wanted him, and you've kind of undermined every keeper you have at the club by making this high-profile public move for him. And us, the fans, have learned that the manager doesn't really rate the options he has. I just don't think it's the best environment to create for this type of stuff. And you know what? I'm just really sick and tired of the lack of assertion when it comes to making moves like this. Like, you look at Liverpool, look at other clubs, man. It's Man City. Okay, we want Reindeers, we want Shirky, we want Verts. Boom. We're spending our efforts to get this deal over the line. Not us. We just like the options, yeah? And if it doesn't work out for us, we love wasting more time going down our list. To what end? Like, to what end at times? We could have had more players added to the squad that would have really just helped the manager even more and made more sense of the squad. But I'm not too sure about this one, man. I think James Trafford will cost a lot of money, but we do have a decent relationship with Burnley. We know at the moment that Strasbourg are linked with signing Egan Riley, and we know that we saw them Bashir Humphreys as well. Could that work out in our favour? Who knows? But to give you guys context, of course, Man City do have a 20% sell-on clause attached to that deal. We know what that means. So that does mean that, you know, there is going to be, you know, probably more money you have to spend to get this deal over the line. So that's that news out of the way, my friends. And I think basically that is everything outside of the final story that we have to discuss. And these are very quick updates on Jamie Gittens. And as we're learning very, very briefly and very quickly, the conversations for Gittens are not completely over and they're not completely dead just yet. And essentially, this is because we're learning that Dortmund's sporting director in Sebastian Kell has admitted that discussions are going to remain open. Now, we know that Gittens is part of the Dortmund squad for the Club World Cup. Fair enough. It makes sense. Hopefully, we can still register him for the knockout stages. We do know that our second bid of 50 million was rejected as Dortmund demanded 65 million plus add-ons near the end. We learned rumours that Dortmund were very annoyed that we didn't actually allow Chukwuemeka to join their Club World Cup squads. We wanted around 1 million for that. But what is very interesting is that actually Chukwuemeka is part of Dortmund's Club World Cup squad. You know, I'm hoping that we do negotiate another loan move for Chukwuemeka to remain at Dortmund. I think it's best for him to stay in that environment, hopefully building his fitness, and then take that gamble to see if he can maybe, like, you know, earn more money so his market value can increase. But I think if Chukwuemeka was to leave Dortmund, go elsewhere, we're taking another gamble because you're forcing him to be in a different environment for no reason. And it might not be tailor-made for him compared to how comfortable he currently is at Borussia Dortmund. I'm hoping this is why Dortmund reacted quite petulantly when it comes to increasing their offer by that much near the end, when originally they only wanted around 60 million. Hopefully Chukwuemeka will be key to that. I think it makes sense for him to remain here, renegotiate the loan. Do that, it makes sense. If you can just like increase your offer by 50 million overnight, just like that, yeah, that does communicate that you do want him. It also communicates that you negotiated quite badly, yeah? If we came with a bigger offer a few days ago, maybe Dortmund would have played things a little bit differently. So they had to react because of the way we've been moving, and you know, it just kind of communicates that we act like jumps sometimes. We act like bums sometimes in the window with what we're doing. But I don't think this Gittens move is over anytime soon. He's a player that we really want. We know Gittens was really disappointed yesterday. All the photos came out of his anger. He sped out from Dortmund's training ground and getting asked by reporters what the hell is going on. So I think too much has happened for the club to just be like, you know what? Forget Gittens, let's go sign Alejandro Garnacho. So my friends, that's all the reports today. Share your thoughts and opinions on the Club World Cup squad, our efforts for HATO, plus all the other stories today. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you tomorrow with more videos. Love.